The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by memories that refuse to die. I can't get away from a vision that brings intimate glimpses of intimate things. A voice in my heart like a tart singer sings. I wonder who's kissing her now. The house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song. The place is cluttered up with roses that have lived too long, much too long. The ceiling is white, but the shadows are black. A ghost in my heart says she'll never come back. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye.
Hey Dan, do you want to go floating with me?
Why? Yes. Yes, I do.
I'll bring you a red balloon.
Haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted.
My drink has a lot of whiskey in it.
The house is haunted by memories that refuse to die.
You love whiskey.
I can't get away.
You're a huge fan.
That brings intimate glimpses of intimate
Huge fan.
A voice in my heart like a tart singer sings. I wonder who's kissing her now. The house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song. The place is cluttered up with roses that have lived too long, much too long. But the shadows are black,
Good evening, and welcome to the Haunt Hour, with your host Dan Doble, Susie Fleesick, and Troy Crivello. Join us tonight as we talk about all things haunting and Halloween during the Haunt Hour.
Welcome, Troy, to another fantastic Haunt Hour. I'm one of your hosts, Dan the Haunt Guy Doble, and Troy is floating too tonight.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, there.
This is as far as I floated. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It is a shallow pool.
Oh, my gosh. Troy, it's been a week. How was your weekend?
It was slow. I don't know. Was it like a really well? You were at volleyball though,
Yeah,
so it wasn't slow for you.
No, definitely wasn't slow.
No,
Not long
for
enough.
me it was just slow. Which I mean, because I was supposed to have my big Halloween giveaway sale before I move, and it like rained most of Saturday and off and on Sunday, and then some on Monday, and we canceled that, and so we pretty much just sat around and drank, but
you would think that with all the rain that you get, you would prepare for rain.
There were supposed to be like 3 families that were going to bring stuff to give away. And we were like, because my yard is huge. And so we were going to have like just the whole yard full of Halloween stuff to give away or sell. And with the amount of rain they were forecasting to fall, it was supposed to be like 2 inches of rain on Saturday. And it ended up raining twice to the point where my gutters were overflowing. But that was, I mean, it was for about an hour each time.
That's not rain. That's a downpour.
Right. And so we were like, people are just going to be like, maybe I'll go tomorrow. And then and then Monday afternoon, I'm looking at my yard and it's still full of everybody's stuff. I'm like, no, wait. It's supposed to be getting rid of this stuff. So we're going to try again this weekend, but now they're saying rain for this weekend too. So I'm going to try. Yeah.
What are you going to do?
This one's not supposed to be as bad. So we'll be like,
what are you going to do? What are you getting rid of? Anything good? Anything I should fly out for?
Some almost nothing you can fly back with unless
I didn't say I wasn't going to try.
No, probably. I mean, because what I've done is when I used to do walkthrough haunts, I would do a different walkthrough theme every year. So everything that I had, like if I did we did a motel one time. Well, everything that I had for the motel, I either reused or got rid of. But like I always kept like lights, like hallway lights and different type of porch lights and things like that. Just things that I could be like, oh, I can use that for another year. And so I just have bins full of just stuff. And some like not working fog machines and stuff like that. But then I've got some bigger props that I'm not going to use anymore. I've got some old pillars. I've got windows. I got a wheelchair. I got sonotubes. And then there's some of it is going to be done after Halloween, because I'm still going to do Halloween here for one more year. And then we're going to, that stuff's going to be put up for sale or for free after Halloween. Hopefully pick it up like November 1st. So I don't have to put it in the backyard.
So as far like you guys are moving, obviously that's a given. You're going to Texas from Portland. Yeah. Are you bringing your haunt stuff with you, or are you going to?
Yes. The majority there. We're going to get a whole pod just for Halloween and Christmas. And most of it will be Halloween. We have a bunch of bins for Christmas because I've got probably 30,000 lights for my house. And then I've got a bunch of little stuff that goes with it.
How many pods are you going to end up getting?
Probably
figure that out yet?
Probably 3. That's what we're thinking. But we really haven't gone through, like, that's what the winter's going to be, is us just going through everything in the house. But it's like, we have a really nice couch. We've got all the beds. We're not taking like Logan has a bunk bed. We're not taking that. We're just going to we're going to buy him a futon when he gets there. So there will be a lot less. What we're hoping is that we can do it all in 2 pods, one holiday and one house. And then we have the RV in the truck as well. And that we can then cancel the 3rd pod and say, just come pick that one up, and not use it. But we'll see. I'd rather not have to like press everything into there. I'd rather just go along and just be like, we got 3 pods. We don't have to like Tetris this shit, and just take our time and take the 2 weeks to load it up. And,
man, nothing about moving out of state from state to state sounds exciting.
Well, and we have to sit there in the kitchen and go, okay, we have 4 people that are going to live in the house. That means we need 4 plates, 4 bowls, 4 forks, knives, spoons, because when we get there, the pods aren't there yet, possibly. So we got to have things. So like we have to spend like the winter going along being like, all right, so on a typical Saturday, what do we need? On a typical Tuesday, what do we need? So we got to pack some obviously all of our clothes and stuff are going to go in the RV. And then like all of our electronics, things like that. We got to have charging cords, things like that. So, I mean, it's a lot of thinking about what would we need for that, probably about a week, that we may not have the pods, but our luck, the pods will get there the day we arrive, and we all that would have been for nothing.
Are you moving? Do you have a date yet?
No.
You said that? No,
we're going to start looking for the house in the beginning of May. And we've already talked to Emerald Farmer from Texas. And so we're gonna start working with her. Kelly and Ty are already working with her because they have a little different situation than I do. But she knows of us and she knows what our, so we're gonna talk to her in the next couple months about what the plans are, and let her get started with them first.
I look forward to following you. Your journey is gonna be awesome, especially if you.
That's one of the when I told Ashley that I was gonna document the whole thing, give or take. I'm not going to walk around every day and make a video, but just kind of the progress. A couple times a month we'll do a video.
That's it. I was hoping.
Well, I don't know. Like for the next 2 months, it's not going to be a whole lot. I mean, it's going to
but I mean, like the whole process is intriguing to me.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, we'll probably do. I've been lacking in video content for a while, and so I need to get back on that. And I've put out like 4 videos. I have another video that's going to go out tomorrow because I filmed 3 of them in a row one day. Yeah. So I haven't changed outfits yet. It's like 6 days of vlogging, and then it's all rolled into one.
Nobody's gonna know
one outfit, but
who's gonna know?
Yeah,
who's gonna know? They'll never know. They'll never know.
And so everybody knows where Susie tonight. She is riding dirty with the top down.
Because life is better topless.
Right.
It's a Jeep thing.
I'm sure Troy would agree with that.
Yes, he would definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So Susie cannot take a non-blurry picture while she's driving, or riding, because he's obviously riding on the median there, because it is Troy's birthday today. So happy birthday, Troy.
Happy birthday, Troy.
Yeah. So another year around the sun with Susie's got to be something to celebrate. So.
Survived another one.
Yeah.
So, do we have any hot stuff to talk about?
No. I we're kind of in that little weird spot where there's.
Yeah, I mean, we could throw out there that the Midwest Honors Convention is coming up.
That's next week. I think by now everybody knows. If you don't, you're probably too late to do anything for it. I mean, unless you live in Chicago, then you might as well walk over. Other than that.
Have you heard anything
on it? Buy airline tickets. It's going to be expensive as shit.
Yeah, it is. Did I tell you that they're over $700 to go to Florida? Like if we're going to Florida in July, late June.
Yep. Why do you think I'm driving to Texas in July?
Yeah, fuck that.
I'm driving an RV in Texas, and that's going to be cheaper than flying.
$50. Just regular tickets, Southwest. Fuck that. That's bonkers.
Yeah, I hope that stops quicker. I mean, I want gas prices to go down first, but
either way, it has to happen.
Probably the only news that I have is I went to a 100-year-old mausoleum in Portland on Saturday.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's a little backstory with this specific room here. I gotta pause the audio. The lady next to him, so George is on the right and Elizabeth is on the left. That's not his wife on the left.
Oh, really?
That's a sham marriage. And so she paid for all of this to put him in and then to put her next to it. The family hates her. Everybody hated her and all this kind of stuff. And the bottom of that says the end to a perfect day. And that's kind of like a little jab at the family.
Slap at the face. Wow.
Yeah. So there's, as with everything with Portland, there's always a torrid history. But this mausoleum has 97,000 people in it, give or take. They do have a tomb of sort of an unknown. It's unclaimed cremations that people didn't have enough money to even come and do anything with them. So one of the coolest things we saw right there is that a lot of the urns are books. And it's the weirdest thing. I've never seen a book urn. I don't peruse people's fireplace mantles for urns, but this was, there are probably,
interesting.
Several thousand books that are urns in here. And
are they just metal books?
Huh?
That's weird. Is it like a metal book with a top on it? How does it work?
Yeah, they're just bronze cases with, and then they put them in there. I gotta fix stuff. While I'm there.
That a boy.
But yeah, it is. If it loads, that's why I hate doing. So most of the mausoleum things are 7 tall, and the urns are 14 tall, and it is 8 miles of walking. If you go through the whole thing, it is 8 floors. It takes forever. They said it takes about 2.5 to 3 hours to walk it all if you just kind of walked at a normal walking pace and didn't really stop to look at everything. So imagine if you're trying to find somebody, and each wing has a chapel in it. So when you get out of the elevator, you walk to the right and there's just this big, I don't know if I'll be able to see one.
Is this hold any records for anything?
It is the oldest mausoleum in the West Coast, I believe, and it's over 100 years old, and it's built into the side of the hill. So they built one level on the street level, and then went down, and then they went up, and so each room is different than the other. I mean, this almost looks like a prison. I mean, it sounds weird to say, but it's got, you have the upper floors and then lower floor. But I mean, it's just so every room has a different architect because it was a different set of years when it was built. So when they ran out of room, they just built on another wing to it. So they've got several big statues in it, and it's literally a big giant labyrinth of vaults. And it's very breathtaking when you walk in there. You're just like, oh my goodness, there's even people above you as you walk down the hallway. Yeah, here's one of the chapels. So each one has one of these. And so this is where if you're going to be buried there, then they take you to one of these rooms, and that's where you'll have your service. And then later on they'll lift you up into the box. And they were having a sale. You could actually you could get a Memorial Day discount on buying vaults this past weekend.
My goodness.
But yeah, they only open it one time a year. It's only open on Memorial Day weekend to the public. If you're family or friends, you can go in. You have to request to be let in. But that first room is only ever open on actual Monday. But they opened up this year because they haven't been open for a couple of years for COVID. So they opened that room up for the whole weekend. But normally it's only open on actual Memorial Day. So it was. We were there for about 2 hours. And I mean, I saw pretty much every floor, I think. And there was like one, I was like, I don't remember this floor. I don't remember seeing this. And so I'd go back, so yeah, it was,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to watch the whole video, it is a long video. It's like 34 minutes long.
Oh my God.
I just kind of kept going through different parts of it and grabbing video.
All 8 miles? Did you do all 8 miles, Troy?
I don't think I did all 8 miles. I left that to Eminem. But
oh my God.
Dad joke. Yes. But yeah, if you want to watch it, it's on my Facebook page, but it's also on my Scare Hollow YouTube page. You can find it there. It's the latest, second to latest
Scare
video.
Hollow, you'll find all of Troy's fun Halloween related videos.
Yeah.
Sweet. So now we're going to talk about Stranger Things in the finale. So let me tell you about
yeah. So I mean, I can't believe that 11 was the mind flyer the whole time, and that Hopper was actually her younger brother, and that Mike is her dad. That was just shocking. And Darth Vader, did you see that coming?
I did not. I did not.
My goodness! Wow.
Well played, Troy. Well played. It wasn't even scripted. Good job.
I am your father, I guess. It was.
Yes, 11 is the mind flare. You wouldn't even believe it if I told you. Now I ruined it for everybody. Enjoy.
Yep. Now you can just go watch Obi-Wan, where Luke Skywalker comes back and actually kills Obi-Wan, and that's why Obi-Wan is dead in episode 4.
And then he wakes up and it's all a dream.
Luke is a time traveler, and Michael J. Fox is actually in the hole when it burned. In his uncle's hut. Did you see
Iron Man was the one that got him out of there?
Right up in the sky. It was so cool. It's so cool. He dropped the Tesseract as he was flying. It was.
Did you watch Obi-Wan this weekend?
Huh?
Did you watch Obi-Wan this weekend?
No, I didn't watch anything. I didn't watch a thing because I had our friend Kelly. Well, no, I care about both those very deeply. But I had our friend Kelly over, and I said, "Oh, we should watch Stranger Things," and she goes, "We're not fans of Stranger Things," and I was like, "Get the fuck out!"
There's the door.
I was like, "There's the door."
Right over there.
And then I said, "Well, fine, we'll watch Obi-Wan," and she goes, "Star Trek," and I'm like, "Oh my God, no, you're out. Get out."
Oh my gosh.
You're out. I don't like you. I know.
Unbelievable.
I know.
So what do we got going on tonight, Troy?
Well, we're going to start off a little bit differently than normal.
Okay.
Because I told you guys last week that
Susie's
there
not
is
here?
a part of our guests that, their video that they did in 2019, because I actually first heard about them through the Home Haunter Awards that I put on, and I saw this video, and I have been entranced ever since. And the phrase at the end of this video, I swear to God, I rewinded it probably 10 times while I was judging, and I was like, I'm just going to give them an extra little point just for that. So we're going to play their whole highlight reel from 2019, and then we will bring them on.
Before you toss this on there, is this something that everybody can go rewatch, or is this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we never talk about the socials and where to find these people's information afterwards. The show, do we?
No, but what I'm saying is this is this one of those videos that's is private or unlisted until
No. I only ever grab private video or public videos unless they tell me it's private, and then we'll play it, and then I'll put it up on my YouTube page and claim all rights and
and then put it on your OnlyFans.
Yeah, right. Oh, well, of course on my OnlyFans, yeah. So, all right, so here you go. Enjoy, and then we'll bring our guests on after this.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan.
But I have no responsibility for what happens to you beyond these gates. I'm sorry, I can go no further. You must continue on your own, but beware the whisperers. Property was left to his son Giles. Fortunately, Giles, a little bit mad, murdered his wife that same year. Said that relatives executed, buried him somewhere in these grounds, but not before he laid a curse upon the land.
Your time is at an end. Your soul shall be mine.
God, I just love that.
That's fucking badass.
Right.
That's just badass.
I watched it last night, and I rewound it a couple more times.
Yeah, it's such a hook.
I did. So, all right, Dan, bring them up.
I got lots of questions.
Right.
I got so many questions. Hello, fellas.
Hello,
guys.
Welcome to the Hot Tower.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I don't know how you guys don't just like shit yourselves every time after you're done with your productions and just go, holy shit, look what we just did. Like I'd be like,
okay,
We usually just collapse.
We can just talk about the haunt, and then we can talk production value of just the video. Like, there's so much more to that video.
That is all Matt.
There's so much more to that video. There's sound effects on top of sound effects. Everything's layered. It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Loved it. Anyway,
man, and it's been a hot minute since I've seen that one too. So watching that, I was going, oh man, I remember that, and they're going, oh man, I remember how. So I was fun fact was not originally that role, like the caretaker who leads everyone in. I mean, I act, but like only insofar as they haven't like pulled me off the stage yet. I'm just waiting on it. About a couple weeks before we opened, the actor who we had originally had lined up, he got a real gig, and we're like, we're not going to keep you from an actual gig to do this, but kind of resulted in a little bit of last minute. Sure,
it's kind of a miracle though. It worked out really well. Like,
I wouldn't even have guessed anybody else to take that role because that was you nailed it.
Right,
nailed it. Nailed it.
Yeah. Thank you.
George says nailed it too. So
nailed it.
DJ Friday night. Wow, that was incredible.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, that's one of the cool things, and it's one of the selfish things. No, he was talking about Stranger Things.
Oh.
I'll make Sean. Sean watches everything that I put up here, and I just tell him watch this, and he's like, okay, and so we're good on that. But that's one of the cool selfish things about running the Home Haunter Awards with Christopher is that we get to see these videos and I mean, I don't really care about judging them because I just give everybody's,
everybody's amazing.
And it's just, so
everybody's
I don't even know why I judge anymore. I'm just like,
everything's so amazing. That's why I don't judge because everything is, everything's 100% for me.
Yeah. Right. And so, but finding ones like this, and that's, and a little inside, baseball here. That's actually one of the ways that we get guests for this show is that when I go through these videos, I look and I see the content and what they have and, try to get different types of haunting out there. And so a lot of the people that you'll see who have entered the awards probably end up on this show at some point in time. But so it's an easy kind of little, depository of videos. So I guess why don't we start with who you guys are, and I'll let you guys fight over who goes first and just kind of do a backstory of where you came from and what you do outside of, a haunting that kind of got you into haunting. And also what was the thing that made you go from whatever you were doing into haunting?
Definitely.
Aaron, you go first.
All right. I'll go first with my personal story. I'll end right about where our stories merged together a little bit better. So,
perfect.
So we both grew up in upstate New York, a little town called Baldwinsville. It's just outside of Syracuse. And compared to the New York we're in now, whenever I say, because I live up in Boston now, whenever I say I'm from New York, people are like, "Oh, I love the city." I'm like, "No, I'm from like near New York." We love the town, but it is literally like 10 minutes outside of Syracuse is all farmland and like little suburbia. So
he grew up on an actual farm, so
miniature horse farm too.
Yeah.
Oh,
nice.
Fun. Yeah. So originally I grew up in a little development kind of in town, but all kind of growing up, it was really from a young age. We always made homemade costumes. Like that was one thing. Like my grandmother, like sews amazingly, so it was always homemade costume every single year. So that really kind of helped develop a lot creatively, but I always look forward to that. And then when I finally put, face to, oh, this isn't all the times a year, this is a specific time, I really got to look forward to that specific time. And so kind of our first, forays into that, we growing up in upstate have a lot of pumpkin farms, apple picking, kind of the fall festivities are really, they hit home. And there was this one specific pumpkin patch, and you're going to just absolutely marvel at the creativity of this name, the Pumpkin Patch.
Whoa!
I know, right?
Stop. I got to write that down.
Right? No, I got it, Dan. No, it's mine. It's mine.
Well, you better get the domain.
I already did.
It was just this really awesome place. There's another place, Iron Kettle Farm, but this place specifically had this little hayride, and it was a sprinky-dink hayride through the woods, and mostly just plywood cutouts and things they slapped on the trees. But they had these characters that they just referred to as the hermits, who just lived in the woods, and it was this janky old man mask, scared the absolute bejesus out of me because they would just start moving. They weren't intentionally scared. They were just there to open and close the gate as the hay wagon rode past. But I think that was my first foray into like, okay, there's a bit of theatricality to this holiday too. And so kind of growing up, that was always something that fascinated me. I always loved theme parks, theater, and kind of anything theatrical in that respect. So they all kind of merged down and boiled down to haunting at the end of the day. But so when we moved from the development out to the farm, it was kind of then that we started really doing decoration like hardcore. And my parents, bless them, were just, they aided and abetted it. But it was always like, they were like, this is your thing. We're gonna facilitate it. It's gonna be housed. If there's anything you're doing though, that's all you.
Right.
Now they helped out a ton though. I mean,
Right.
they said that, but in reality, like they're out there. Okay, well, here's power tools. Here's this. Here's that. We had the first real prop that I built. We had these big oil drums, rusted out oil drums in the back of the horse paddock that turned into toxic waste barrels. They're still in the display to this day.
Awesome.
Going on 20 something years later. So
Nice.
But yeah, so it was always a big thing, but we have never received a single trick-or-treater out there because we live maybe like 2 or 3 miles completely outside of town. Our closest neighbors were a cornfield's distance away on the other side. So it was a labor of love for sure, more than it was anything rewarded. Until about high school age, and Matt and I had met through soccer, like, you know, in 5th grade, but hadn't really like connected until about junior year. But I'll push it back over to Matt now, I guess.
Yeah, so I guess for me, I did not live on a horse farm. I lived in the neighborhood, and just like trick-or-treating is like still like one of my fondest memories, just like everyone getting dressed up, going out. And we had one neighbor who would go really crazy, and he would build something in front of his yard, and he'd have these really elaborate costumes. Like I remember Party City used to make these huge masks that were like $200, and they were really big, and he used to get one every year.
Oh yeah.
And he'd scare the shit out of us. But it was like, so like everyone was like looking forward to it. You go to school the day before, you'd see him building, and everyone's like freaking out, and it was awesome. So those are just like, that kind of got me into Halloween, and I always liked horror movies, and I always liked this spooky, scary stuff. And then, so, I mean, growing up in the neighborhood, I was lucky, and we got lots of trick-or-treaters. And so I always put out decorations with my parents and stuff. And then, you know, as we got older, you know, I would kind of take the initiative and start making stuff and building stuff and kind of theming out a more elaborate, you know, static yard haunt. And then Aaron and I kind of reconnected in high school, and it was our sophomore year. And I said, hey, I'm doing this haunted house thing. You know, it's not much, just like me and a couple of my friends, you know, at my parents' house. It
was like, literally like the day before, too. We were just like, hey, do you want to come out and do this thing? We're like, sure. So it was like vaguely
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Like there was
like Freddy Krueger.
There was like a plastic sheet, and there was no spot. I was literally in a box of spare parts, like just playing the like classic, oh yeah, dummy thing. And that, you know, humble beginnings.
Yes,
right. Because then immediately the next year we were like, okay, so like, are we gonna do this? We both looked at each other like, we're gonna do this. So we literally then, like, I think we went from that, like, here's some sheets, to our first like actual walkthrough, and it was all Saw themed. And yeah, I grabbed, like, we had just renovated a bathroom, and so we like pulled the like toilet out of the bathroom and like put it on some tile. I sat on my leg the entire night as Dr. Gordon. I almost lost complete sensation in that leg, but
it was cold, and it was snowing that day. Like we were setting up, and it was literally started to snow and hail, and we were like, "Oh crap!" And like, so we had to like waterproof stuff, and it was like
what year was
freezing. This was 2010.
2010, yeah. So this was in high school, and that was kind of the last, because it was our senior year. It was our last big kind of thing we did, because we both, you know, went off to college, separate places. We actually, so senior year of high school, we finished, and Matt was kind of like, hey, I have this kind of crazy idea. Why don't we film a movie over the summer? And we're like, okay. Yeah. So we recruited a bunch of other kids from the high school, and over the course of that final summer from senior year until literally we wrapped filming the day I left for college, filmed in this local kind of like little patch of wooded road that has so many urban legends associated with it. You'd sit there and fill a novel with them. Everything from the classic, like, oh, dead brides, to ghostly sheets in the, the trees and hellhounds and things. But so we filmed this movie and it was called Whiskey Hollow. Is the name of the road and also the movie.
Nice.
I swear it is. So we cut it together and actually it premiered locally. It had a small gross. We donated all the proceeds to the American Cancer Society. But so technically we do have IMDb credits left and right from that.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the last big thing we did. Then we filmed another one the next summer, but then we kind of went on a hiatus in terms of we both were off doing things, just in terms of college and everything.
Yeah. In college, I actually worked my last 2 years of school. I worked at a haunted forest thing, and I was like this evil clown, and they gave me the chainsaw. And there was this one group of like high school girls that I got really good. And at the end, the father pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I'm gonna go unlock the car and I'm gonna distract them. Can you hop in the trunk of my car and then pop out when the girls get in?" I said, "Sure, why not?" So I get in the car, and they think it's over because they cross the street, they're in the parking lot, the haunt's over, right? So then the girls get in the car, close the doors, and then Dad starts the car, and then I pop out from the trunk of the minivan and scare the crap out of these poor girls, and I think they feed themselves. But it's like one of my the best scares I've ever gotten because it's amazing. Like the dad is awesome. Like
could have gone a totally different way, and that and we never heard from Matt again.
Right.
Yes.
And Matt was stabbed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we both kind of went off. I did in college. I studied mechanical engineering as a major and theater production as a minor. So not the performance element, but more set design, costumes, lighting, things like that. Really, it was just an excuse to put any and all creative energy into the non-technical thing, because engineering was just so heavy with theory and math. And though I am currently an engineer, I much prefer the creative arts. So that was my way of keeping with things. But I kind of, we'd been to horror nights pretty much every year from 2013 onward, just by virtue of for us at least, kind of growing up, it was like the big pinnacle, pinpoint cool thing. I mean, because we had local haunts out the wazoo up in our area, and we loved them just as much. And I think there's definitely Horror Nights is its own thing. I think I don't think it's definitely not your traditional haunt in pretty much anything across the board. But so that had been our kind of connection point together, even through being separated college wise.
Yeah.
And then after graduation, I moved up to Boston. I actually worked for a company that designs escape rooms, museum exhibits, things like that, right out of school. And that's kind of the industry I've always been obsessed with, for better or for worse. And then I transitioned to a different company pretty soon, but still stayed in that area. And Matt kind of moved down to New York.
Yes, I work in film and television production, so at least there's kind of a bridge there, So I have lots of editing. I mean, I don't edit professionally. It's just like a side hobby, but I see all the tools and stuff, and luckily for our haunts now, I have access to a lot of performers, a lot of actors, and just a large network. And that's the advantage of doing it in New York, is there's so many people, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Right.
So we didn't really do much, in college, and then we moved to our current apartment in Brooklyn, which we've been in since 2016, and then 2017 I wanted to have this really big Halloween party. So I invited a bunch of friends, and we went to Horror Nights that year. And one of the houses was Scarecrow, the Reaping, and I really liked it, and I thought it was a really cool. That's like my design aesthetic is rural stuff, barns and stuff, really creepy, realistic atmospheres. And so I was like, oh, I want to try to do something similar. And so, within a couple of weeks, I made a bunch of stuff. I ordered some stuff online. I ordered this cool windmill that I distressed and everything. We went to the Headless Horseman Hayride, which is in Ulster Park, New York. Aaron and I, and then one of our other friends who lives here, and our partners in our company staff. And we at 2 a.m, I needed a bunch of corn stalks, so we went to a local a cornfield and just stole a bunch of corn stalks and literally filled my car.
For legal reasons, they were laying on the ground, perfectly cut, and you just happened to clear the road as a good
Yes.
citizen.
Of course.
Yeah. They were impeding traffic. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. And I've picked up corn stalks that were broken on the side of the road too. I'd be surprised how upset those farmers get.
It's a public
it's
hazard.
weird.
It really is. It's a crisis.
Yeah.
So yeah, they did this kind of, it was really not last minute, but it was just kind of smaller, and I didn't get a chance to see it, but just some of the tech, getting to play around with some of the tech too. Like we have since kind of like moved into using a lot of Picos, a lot of Fright props things, but Matt had it was a perfect storm unit, right?
Storm, which is like,
I love that. I still use it today.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I have one too.
Yep.
And so what I did is I just plugged simple can light into it, and then had my I had an aux splitter and put the input in for this scarecrow sound that one of our other best friends and roommates who does all of our sound design, he created this like horrific scarecrow monster sound that was my character. And so when people would walk by, I would press play, it would cause the light to flicker, basically strobe, and then the sound would come out, and it was like a very simplified rudimentary scare trigger.
Program trigger, yeah. But I mean, that's literally then you're just on the iPad or iPod,
go back.
Click. All right,
yeah,
play every single time. But
yeah, and people were like, "Oh, we didn't know this was a haunted house. We thought this was just a party." So it kind of like got me thinking, and that Aaron and I started talking, and early 2018, I said, "Hey, maybe we got something here. Let's we both obviously love Halloween. We do stuff when we were younger. Let's do a haunt here in our apartment in Brooklyn." And our landlord is luckily very chill. Like he doesn't care because we don't own this.
Right.
So, but we actually have a lot of space. Like it's basically a duplex. We have a big courtyard in the front that we control. It's a 2-story apartment plus a basement plus a backyard. So we actually have a lot of room. I mean, respectively for New York, obviously it's small. Like versus
right.
That's where I have questions.
Right.
I have lots of questions about this.
So everything goes through their entire house, their entire apartment. I mean, it takes over the entire thing.
So I've watched home haunters, and I've watched them build stuff in their houses, in their yards, in their garages. Those are in like subdivisions. Yeah. Those are in rural areas. You're in the fucking city.
Yeah.
How do you do this in the city? Like, I've been to New York before. My best friend lives in Brooklyn, and like there's not much room to do anything there.
No, there isn't.
Not to mention, like you're in the city. How do you even get approval for this? I mean, so talk us through like
the approval side is interesting. Again, our landlord is very relaxed.
Yes,
I don't think he knows the full extent of what we do. He lives in Long Island, and so he knows we do this stuff outside. And actually, our first big year, which was Butcher's Block, which is on the screen now, we made this like the shack, and we had this menu out with like.
Where is this at right now? Is this?
So this is out in the courtyard. Well, now we're in Mudroom. I know it happens really quick, especially for the first year. It's kind of funny because the walkthrough video is like 10 to 15 minutes long or something. Like 90% of that is just exposition. Right, because there's only so much space. So so basically, we actually hold on. Let's see here. I have. It takes a lot to your point. It does take a lot of planning. We actually have a really detailed, drawn out, like dimensional map of the space. So if you look, starting here, this is actually all drawn in AutoCAD. So these are the outside. This is sort of the gate in the main courtyard. And I'm also trying to do this while it's mirrored, so I apologize. Right. These are the steps up to the second level. So this is all outside. So basically, we have to figure out our outside scene is usually our big showstopper. Like this is where we're putting the most time, effort, because this is where we're going to hold the guests for the longest time. Right. So this is actually a map from Lockwood Cemetery, but you'll get a good sense of it.
Let me stop you real quick. Where the arrows begin, is that the street?
Yes. So this is the sidewalk. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
So you can see kind of here these dotted lines. We actually have built this like kind of shanty fence that we use to essentially just block off this entire thing. So it feels like you're in a little room, but it is fully outside still. So you enter kind of through the gates, and usually some sort of pre-show happens here that just kind of sets things up. Then heading into the main courtyard, this is kind of our main area that we actually can control guest flow, which we kind of worked on and solved a little bit last year. But once you kind of let people go, they're going to go at whatever pace they're going to go at. 90% of our issue, or like our brain power, is devoted to how do we keep people from sprinting through this thing? Because if you walk end to end, this is like a minute and a half.
And that's walking.
Oh, right. Absolutely. Yeah, like taking your time. So it's really kind of in the main goal of trying to maximize space, maximize time spent per room as best as possible. So in this case, the exterior here, that's all courtyard. We usually have some mini facade kind of before the transition into the actual house itself. Then we start running into some issues. Every single wall, inside and outside, is untouchable, essentially. Like they want their security deposit back. Selfish people.
I know. Right?
So figuring out how to address walls, how to address scene setting when you're literally. So this front room is fully stucco. Like
you don't even have. You can't drill. You can't stick. It's like
it's just completely useless. So we've actually found a way to essentially pressure fit wall panels into the room to kind of block things off. But it also presents a unique challenge of how do we scare in that room? There is this tiny little gross kind of room door off to the side that we actually, the first year, God bless her, we stuck Steph, our friend and other partner in that room pretty much the entire night with the weevils and the centipedes and the things.
Yeah, it's a little gross in there.
So that's where the only scare can really come from in this room. In this next room, it's a little hallway with a stairway that leads up to the second level. Again, there's nothing on either side. This is maybe 4 feet wide.
Yeah,
like 4.5.
And the second level is off limits because that's where most of the bedrooms are. So we stay completely on the past 2 years. We were on the first level, and then this last year we expanded into the basement, into the backyard.
And so then all of this is actually, it looks like a big open space, but in reality, like this is their living room. This is the kitchen. There's actually counters all in here. So,
my bedroom's in the back.
Yeah, his bedroom's off to this side. So it is paying attention to the space we have, and really a lot of floor planning. So this is then the basement layout. This was from last year. You can see kind of labeling individual walls. This looks like a lot of space right here. In reality, we were like squeezing behind this thing.
Yeah, it's almost no space.
We're using pretty much every bit of available space we've got. And again, this looks massive. This was maybe like, I don't even know how big.
I think it was tiny. It's like 5 by 4.
It was something tiny. But again, it's you get creative with the space you have.
What you got,
and still trying to make it livable. Like you can see here, this is the staircase downstairs. So the guests would go this way. We had to make this wall completely movable because then right here is where the laundry machines are. We need to have this whole thing accessible for the rest of the house.
Luckily,
you are gracious enough to let us do this.
Yeah, because there's 5 of us who live in this apartment. It's myself, Steph, who's one of our other partners in this, and then one of our other best friends lives with us, and he does all of our sound design. But there's other people who we're very good friends with, but they're not really involved. So we have to. So I mean, they're very gracious and they're very accommodating because this is a huge undertaking. It really does change a lot. It changes the whole apartment for quite a while. So we're lucky, and we appreciate them. So, but we have to still have access to the kitchen, to the laundry dryers upstairs and stuff. But one of the biggest challenges is doing it in the spaces. We can never change the flow because there's only one way in and there's only one way out. It's all the same. There's only one front door.
There's only one front door. There's only one that mud room. There's only one way in, out, and
every year
a closet.
So our challenge is the flow is always the same. So how do we make it feel different, and how do we work with the constraints of the apartment itself to change it up and still make it really interesting? So it's something that we've actually gotten pretty good at, because we put 4 haunts in it now.
Yeah,
but it's always a challenge when we first start out and start designing the attraction. So.
And changing it up in such a way too that we know, okay, if you've been through this reasonably, a scare is probably coming from that hallway or that staircase leading up to the stairs. The scare is probably coming from the right in that mudroom. Figuring out how to make people not necessarily, not expect it, but also focus on the storytelling element too, that they care about it.
How do we distract them enough where they're immersed in the story and the design of the set design and everything, where they're not paying attention to where the scares are coming from prematurely.
So like for Lockwood, we actually blocked off that front hallway where the year before we had the butcher coming out through the meat flaps, as we called them, which we've realized is a horrible word.
Meat curtains.
We had him coming through that. So the next year we changed it up. We put a stained glass window there that would break open, and we had a projection behind it coming through, and we put the scare actor in the room with them as a statue. Which is a classic, bit of, we're not anywhere near the first people to do that, but for a group coming through and expecting, okay, they're coming from there. Okay. It changes it up a little bit. Right. Even this past year in the room, which is actually the backdrop you used on here, became the scary, not scary, very scary room for it.
And that was the most designed we could actually make that room, because like I said, it's stucco, so you can't stick anything, you can't drill into it. So we made these very thin wall panels, and then we just wallpapered and put fake doors all around. So we actually were able to, for the first time, really change that room up, which was really exciting for us. And just figuring out, okay, we stuck Steph in there one year, and there's no way we're putting a live actor back in putting actors in there anymore.
So
we put an animatronic in this time.
And we played around with a kind of LexJet scrim, which is actually, it's the same material used on like bus wraps. So you can see out, you can't see in, but it's solid. It's not just like a fabric scrim, so we didn't have to worry about tensioning it or anything. And so that was our scary, not scary door with Betty Ripsum behind it for this past year. But so, it's getting creative with space, but also storytelling and how to break up the flow in such a way that you're not telling people, okay, now wait, we're going to talk at you for 5 minutes again.
So that's something that you guys do that not a lot of home haunters do, is that you guide them through and you tell them a story the whole time. You're really, I love the immersive part of home haunting. And I've always been a big proponent of, why am I here? Why am I at your house? Why am I in this facility? Don't just say, this is my house and I put some stuff in front of it. Make me understand why I'm here. And that's the whole thing of never ever say, what are you doing here? Or get out, because no, I'm here. Tell me why.
Right.
I know. Don't tell them to leave. Yeah.
Right.
It was interesting, because the year with the cemetery, I was the greeter. So naturally you just get to know your spiel, but essentially it was always like, hey, welcome to the cemetery. I know it's weird. Like, you don't see many historic New England cemeteries in the middle of Brooklyn with a closed bodega across the street, but you're here. So.
Yeah. And I think that's too, is like Aaron and I think one of our biggest things that we always try to focus on is the storytelling, and what makes us different from other home haunts or even other commercial haunts is that we really want to put a lot of effort into the backstory. Like usually we do like a small like marketing thing. So like for the Butcher's Block in 2018, I wrote this, basically the backstory was, there's this museum opening up that was in the spot of this old butcher block that used to be on this street in New York. And this guy went crazy and he killed a bunch of people and he turned them into, meat, and he served it and stuff.
Which turned out to be actually eerily accurate to what happened in the house down the street apparently back in the 70s. So unintentional there, but.
So you have freezers full of bodies is what you're saying.
Yeah, it wasn't our spot. It was only one block over. So
forget about it.
So we drafted these letters from the museum curator that said, oh, we're opening this museum, like come out on this night, this is happening. And we sent it out to a bunch of people, but we didn't tell them it was from us. It was totally anonymous. So people were like, what? Who is this from? And then eventually we let them know, oh, it's for our haunt this year. And actually some people did believe that the story was true, that this happened here. So
they were also looking for Patricia, which they found her crispy and in the bathroom.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
but even for this past year, like we had postcards printed that were actually the same postcard that Ben has in the movie. With I think it's just he writes the love letter, the poem to Bev, the like your hair is winter fire poem.
Right.
Smeared blood on it, had it with the like correct return address, everything, mailed that with a letter from Mike Hanlon, ostensibly, had postmarked it from the Derry public library, everything, sent that out to everyone with the invite to the haunt. And we actually, this year too, it was kind of fun. We played around with, so during the pandemic, everyone did a lot of learning. That's all we could do was learn instead of actually going out and doing stuff. So Matt and I kind of experimented, Matt mainly, with AR filters. So like augmented reality stuff. So we actually had a little augmented reality capture on the postcard. So once you hit the QR code, you could use it on the postcard and scrawled across. It was like,
come home,
blood. Like from the movie, which is what was scrawled on the bridge. Cool. But so we like to try to, as much as it is, a haunt, we try to, do little bits and pieces, little media pieces.
Before I get into like the additionals to building the story, maybe I should talk about that first, but I don't want to forget to ask, is this a party? Like you're inviting people there? I mean, do people get to hang out afterwards? Or
I mean, it was a little bit different last year because we're still in COVID time, but like in previous years, it was like, all right, so we're having this awesome Halloween party. We have a backyard. You can bring drinks, bring your friends, but you got to go through a haunted house first. That's the price of entry. And so,
it was our little bit of like William Castle like assurance, like we're gonna get butts and seats, but we're gonna get people to come, but we're gonna tell them it's a party. They just happen to have to walk through a haunted house first.
Yeah, so we do throw a big haunt. I mean, we usually run the haunt like 3 nights, and so the first 2 nights is not really a party. It's more like it's like first night's a preview night to help the actors get acclimated to their scares and their triggers, and then second night is usually like a Friday. I mean, people are welcome to hang out, but then like usually the last night's like the big party where most of the people come and hang out. So
got it. And how many people do you guys usually see on a Halloween night? Is it growing every year?
Yeah, I mean,
exclude COVID years.
Yeah, I mean, last year we did it differently. Before it was just like, oh, just come whenever. And also, I should note too, it is what we call semi-private because we are in New York. We can't open up totally to the public because it's in our house. So there's liability issues.
Yeah, you're in the big city.
Yeah, so that's a big reason why there is a party element to it. Is it's friends, and then definitely invite people that you know and you trust.
It's also like that's why we can do what we do. This is like we're not charging admission, we're not opening up to the public. We don't need to have permits. It's like we're throwing a big Halloween party, and it's we just go really crazy with the decorations. That's the kind of way we spin it. Right. I mean, we've never had any issues with police or city officials.
And we do everything we can to fireproofing, safety, all the things in the basement. Last year we had gone through with fire tech additive for all the every bit of paint. Anything we can. So
I my job usually in production is like safety and stuff. So I run safety meetings with everybody, and we make it like it's pretty safe and secure for everybody.
Yeah. But part of that is we're inviting people into the house.
Yeah.
Right.
So you kind of got to be aware of who those people are.
Right. Yeah. Right. So we can't have strangers.
That makes sense. Now it's making more sense to me.
But so
But if anyone ever reached out to us and was like, "Hey, we're really interested. We would love to see it." Absolutely. Like, we're going to make that happen.
So we do get a lot of people walking by say, "Oh, what's this? Like, is this a haunted house? Can I come in?" It's like, oh, unfortunately not. Like,
is this a meat shop?
Right. But actually on Halloween night,
you laugh.
A smaller version of the show, which is just the outside portion of the show. And we do open that up totally to the community and to the kids and to neighbors and stuff.
Because at the end of the day, like Halloween has never really fallen, except for 2020, which of course Halloween's never really falling exactly on a Saturday. So it's really important to us because trick-or-treating and Halloween was such a big important thing to us as kids that we're not going to be the gatekeepers of, no, you can't come into our really cool thing. Right. It's Halloween. Yeah. What would you expect? No.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we always we tried to be the house that has the big candy bars, but that's also part of it too. It's interesting coming from little suburban town, trick-or-treating's a big thing.
Yep.
The middle of New York City, trick-or-treating is not exactly a safe
Yeah, usually
It's
the kids
super
go
open
to
activity.
businesses. They go to businesses instead of homes. That's how they
That makes sense. Yeah.
And it's during daylight hours. But we are now known, like people know our neighborhood. Everyone knows we are the Halloween guys. Like so people come from different parts of Brooklyn to come and see us because they know like, oh, this is because our neighbors right next door, they've lived there. It's three generations, and they've been there their whole lives, and they're like, we've never seen anything like this before in New York City. So they look, a lot of people look forward to it, which is super exciting for us.
Yeah.
So,
All right, I'm gonna go back to the whole storyline and stuff. Yeah, obviously, sets are amazing. There's more layers to just building something. What do you do for sound and lighting in your event?
So, kind of, it's interesting. So Troy was to pull back the curtain a little bit on that particular sound clip that you love so much.
Right.
That's actually not my voice, nor is that me in the video, like delivering the line. We do a lot with doubling here. Weirdly, every year I think we've run the house, we have had a complete one-to-one recreation of a character at some point in the house happening twice. We're usually wearing a mask, so it's a little bit easier. So the butcher, we had 2 butchers, we've had 2 Pennywises, and we actually had 2 Gileses, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. So Aaron, when Aaron's the greeter, he's the alive Giles, and then at the end it's revealed the twist is he's been dead the whole time, and this is Giles taking over the form of the Undertaker.
So but to that end, it's very obvious if you have somewhat less. So I mean, we were both bearded, or roughly the same height, white guys. So wearing the same exact
cover in makeup, wear the same clothes.
Yeah.
I thought when I watched the video that it was just 2 different nights, and you did it one night, and another person did it the other night.
I thought it was your
same night, but it's interesting because you get so many people going.
People think
sprinted.
People thought he ran every time. People thought he ran back and forth.
But the way we can get away with things like that is through, I guess, standardization sounds so sterile, but like audio that we can keep consistent between everything. Right. So a lot of our scares we use them as enhancements. We don't necessarily use it as a crutch. Versus some places just hit the button and go back in. Like we hit the button, you have a pre-programmed sort of sequence that you're going to essentially act to, but then you can build on that afterward. But things like the audio line really help tie things back in so that, Pennywise sounds like Pennywise no matter which actor you're getting. Same thing with the audio for that particular character. So I end up doing, because both Matt, Steph, like we all have a little bit of stake in every bit of the game, lighting, set, costuming, sound design. We all have a slight knowledge of it. So I'll usually go through and make scratch audio for pretty much every scare. I'd be like, boogity boogity boo, crashing sound effect. Exactly and that will be the thing we're working with for like 90% of the rehearsal process and like programming. So then we come to our other friend, Matt, who confusingly also named Matt.
Yeah.
Who also lives here. He's in, he does a lot with audio production. He's done it commercially, other things. We also grew up with him in the small town. So we'll come to him usually with our crazy ideas of like, yeah, then we want this, but we want the like bang to sound a little bit like, more like it came from a carnival than it did from this. And like, he's like, I got you. So sometimes that then involves recording audio with other like actors. So that Giles line for a while was just me doing the like, yeah, your soul is in an like, and we actually got it was who was the actor though, Matt?
So it's actually a friend of mine who works in production. He's actually a line producer, but he also does voiceover work. And so we hired him, for free because he's awesome. His name's Nick. And I went to his apartment. He's got a full setup and we recorded like 3 hours of lines because he also in the cue line, he has a bunch of different lines that like floats through the space that sets it up as Giles. And then his voice comes in at the end again.
Ties everything together.
Up.
Yeah. So we try to do as much as we can in terms of each scare building on that storyline and adding to it in some way. In that through the audio is a lot of that. It's a lot of layers. I think you noted in the video.
Yeah.
There's so many layers of different things. For the butchers specifically, like the butcher crashing down the door, we had the sound of the door being kicked open, a hinge pin falling off, like tiny little things adding in. Besides, then obviously the big squealing mess of slashing and other stuff.
We spent a lot of time in sound design, and just because to us that's really important, because that's really what adds a lot of production value and really elevates your haunt. Is wow, this is so visceral sounding, and that's really what makes it really entertaining. So we spend a lot of time developing the soundtracks, the soundscapes, and all the sound effects.
Definitely more immersive when you do it that way.
Yeah.
So lighting kind of comes part and parcel. It's finding creatively where to hide things, because we don't have rafters to put things up in. We've got corners. So just in here, we actually, even that picture of that room up on curtain rods. So, those like extendable curtain rods, we've got them like splayed against the ceiling and things clamped to that just above.
We use a lot of clamp lights. Clamp lights are very helpful in this situation.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we started to delve in the past couple of years into more DMX lighting, because this is fun to program those. And
right.
In 2020, when we didn't do a haunt because of COVID, but I designed this like projection light DMX light show that I put on out front so people could walk by and watch that. And so that was really kind of my introduction to DMX. Then we use like, so the whole last year in the whole sewer scene for Pennywise, it's all DMX lighting, and so it's a really intense progression and orchestra of lighting effects and stuff that's all synchronized into one system, which is really cool.
That finale scene that took place in it was our first real experience in getting to actually build a space, which was really cool.
We built it in July and we could leave it up for 4 months. It was awesome.
As opposed to
like a real haunt.
As opposed to we've got to take all of this down because people have to eat their cornflakes in the morning. It was cool, but that thing was a handoff of like 12 different pieces of technology. We had a Pico that triggered the whole thing to begin with. Then it triggered a separate Pico FX routine that happened simultaneously. We had a sprite player that controlled the projection and how that kind of progressed. The DMX was being handled through a Pico DMX like module that was running everything. So that helped with the fogger, the kind of backsplash, color changing lights. It was terrifying for the first trying to get that thing off the ground and getting everything to work in sequence. We had running water in the it was like a pipe that burst, and which is its own nightmare of a thing. So we had because we had a reverse. So we had the water kind of pouring behind one of the openings in the sewer, and the projection was happening behind that from as far in the corner as we could put the projector onto a sheet right in front of that, and we had a kiddie pool and a
garbage can to collect
the
water
that was recycling into.
Yeah, that took
and a pond pump.
Yeah.
So the projection was happening through the water, but it was also a big experiment of going, this is a closed room. Is that water going to be so loud you can't hear anything else? So it's a lot of technology to try to pull it off, but we tried to make everyone feel as transported as possible, and we know physically that's not too possible when we're stuck in the middle of Brooklyn, and even the basement, for better or for worse, last year the ceiling height of that basement probably at its highest point is 6 foot even. I could barely stand upright in that basement.
Sometimes it's lower, sometimes it's like 5'8". So.
So figuring out a wall system was going to work with that too. We've actually, all of our walls are built so that they can essentially be tension fit into place, screwed down, and once they're secured to one another, that thing, could take a hefty linebacker check to it before anything would even move. But as soon as you unscrew it, you could just 2 taps and it pops down, and you haven't screwed anything into the ceiling or the floor, which is a crumbling, New York City apartment concrete floor, and the ceiling is full of wonderful piping and water lines and electrical that were put in like the 1920s.
What's funny about that is a lot of people have never been to our basement. So like people obviously come to our apartment during non-haunt season, they know the layout, but like we don't usually take people to the basement, and so people were like really disoriented in a good way. Like they had no idea where they were, and some people thought the ceiling was a false basement, and we intentionally made it super low. And we're like, no, that's just the way it is. And we're
Sure,
like,
yeah, go with that.
yeah.
Because
So
that's what, when I was watching this specific video for your guys' submission this year, I was trying to figure out how the hell do you get away with having such a long introduction and then knowing that it's a private party. I'm like, there's no way you could get 20 people through in 3 hours if you've got this long introduction. And I'm like,
Yeah, we actually
all makes sense.
we actually did have at the end of it, we did Eventbrite, so we did time ticketing this year. It was still free, but it helped us regulate the flow.
Break everything up.
And for
we
groups,
actually, we actually were able to. We actually sold out our final night. We had, I think, like almost 200 people come through.
I mean,
Right.
free,
but we actually had people who were like waited over an hour. I mean, I guess they were a good way. They could bring drinks and they were having fun and stuff. But there was actually quite a long wait to come around the block to come on. So,
and it does involve a little bit of expediting, like and tweaking, little bits and pieces. This particular piece was somewhat synchronized to a backing track, but it's not nearly as prescriptive as it's going to happen this exact way every single time, and you got to deal with that. But so guess flow through is also a big part of that. You can only really hold people for so long in any given place without them going, okay,
I want to move on.
I get it. Let's get it. You're right.
So, the video helped here. That's actually my mom. We filmed her in my garage back upstate. Well, because we checked everywhere. There is not a single, there has to have been, they had to have filmed this entire little like Dairy Children's Hour program.
It's in the movie. It's in the background.
It's in the movie, and it's
all the
constant
adults watch it. Yeah.
We found
we can't find the actual archive of it
and nothing. So we kind of took my mom and we're like, okay, this is what the lady was roughly wearing. This is an approximation of the background. We wrote our own script for it because we knew we wanted to do the cut up thing where it kind of jumped back and forth and created the new sentence there.
Right.
But we were just like, do you mind being the creepy like 80s dairy lady?
Yeah.
Does she have a theater background?
She doesn't. She does a lot of public speaking for her day job. She works for the employee assistance program, so she does a lot of like speaking engagements for like schools, and
we've also thrown her into our movies. She's used our shenanigans.
But it was funny because she's like, I'm used to just having like bullet points to hang things off of. I never have to read word for word. So and in this case we needed her to say specific words because it needed to be cut back up into the same thing. But no, it was great. So using things like that. No, so this is the courtyard. So you can see this is the same actually where Pennywise is there.
Yes.
That's actually where the butcher's shack was the year before, or a couple years before. The center is where the big monument was. We actually, so this is the fun fact, that rain is 100% practical.
It rained 5 days
Welcome
in
to
the
New
entire
York.
month of October, and 3 out of the 5 days were on the 3 nights that we ran the haunt.
We have gotten so lucky every other year. This year, because
Every
that's
night.
part of it too. Everything you're seeing there electronically, we take in and out every single night we're running the haunt. So we're reconnecting DMX connections. We're reteching everything every single night within the first couple, the couple hours prior, because at the end of the day, no matter how waterproof things are, which we got lucky with this year, we actually panicked and within a single day waterproofed every single
it wasn't supposed to rain until like the morning of. It says, oh, it's like it's a storm. So we had to totally come and waterproof it, and it took like 4 hours to waterproof everything. We had to rush out and buy stuff.
But part of that is too, we are in New York City. Things will grow legs if they are left.
We can't leave anything expensive or
eye
catchy outside. I mean, luckily, people don't mess with our set design. They don't mess with the stuff that we built. But we own like some of these lights are very expensive.
Take it down to the corner and sell it. It's
right.
gone.
Yeah.
So we don't. We would rather spend an extra couple hours every day to break stuff
Take
down
things
and
in
make
and
sure
out.
that it's safe and secure.
So you can see here, this is that room, that kind of mud room. If you looked up, you can see our little clamp light situation. But these are all panels that we just had to put in. You can see that little mud room off to the right. We had the solid scrim that then was visible through. And when that light turns off from the inside, turns on the outside, it's suddenly back to being a solid door again. We were praying that effect was going to work. I think it came off. It came off rather well. So actually, you can see too if you go back for a half second there, part of that storytelling element that we needed to give people a a reason or something to do in the haunt too. We wanted to add that layer if they wanted it, but in such a way that they didn't actually have to spend the time and like think about it too much. If you pause right there, so you can see on the left side, that little postcard there is Ben's letter to Bev, the like poem that he wrote to her. We actually hid all 7 of the tokens that the losers had to collect in the second movie throughout the first level of the haunt. So they all had a little key spot on them. So they were all there. They were not really, intrusive, but they were there if you wanted to find them. So it added a little bit of extra kind of fun for people who wanted to kind of go for it. Because again, we're dealing with only so much space. Yep. Yeah, we need the repeatability that like, okay, we'll go back through and see if you can find all 5 because, Richie's arcade token was like stuck on a railing somewhere.
Nobody found that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because because we don't play audio normally on here, the beginning sequence, he's telling them about the tokens and to find them and to tell them what to do while they're in there to find stuff. Yeah. So each person going through is going to hear that spiel and they know I can either go through and be scared fuckless or I can, look for all these things.
Yeah. Speaking about getting scared too, another fun thing that we do is we hide GoPros in all of our rooms, so we capture all of our guest reactions. And so I haven't edited this past year's video yet, but we have lots of really good footage of people being terrified.
So again, this is just a normal hallway. We got creative with how we addressed the ceiling. We actually hung those off of just command hooks, but that's actually just like garden vegetable fencing that comes on the big roll that we just hung up there to create some sort of interest on what was otherwise an untouchable white ceiling. Doing as much as we can. So again, most of the actually pictures in this projection room were just us, like pictures. I have an inordinate amount of pictures with clowns as a kid for some reason. So like 90% of those were just me and my brother with clowns, an assortment of clowns from the earlier 90s. But yeah, so in this case, we did have a guide.
So those walls you're looking at right in front of you, those are fake walls.
Yeah. So that is on the other side of that immediately is the dining room table. And so we had a little, scare hideaway for the portrait lady, Judith. And then had our little facade leading to the basement. So this is where the haunt would end primarily, like every other year.
Yep.
So a lot of people were ready to exit to the left and then, I guess it's continuing.
They're like, wait, there's more.
I love the upside down boats.
Oh
Yes.
I love that look. That's
well done.
We folded. What was the final count?
I think close to at least 400 boats.
We folded almost 400 paper boats by hand. We actually found the perfect size. The perfect size, unfortunately, for the style boat that was in the movie, which is like a longer top and thinner bottom. It was a very long rectangle. So part of that was cutting every single piece to the exact right size. It's not a piece of paper that
pre-exists. It's not a size that pre-exists. You have to cut it to size.
Folding them, writing SS Georgie. But those are just stuck onto pieces of, cardboard that we had kind of puzzle pieced onto the ceiling. Every one of those posters, hand kind of distressed and stuck onto the wall too. But in that room in particular, it started very light and got progressively more intense as it got toward the ending hallway where the transition happened here. But again, it's kind of our policy, no scares on stairs.
That's a good policy to have.
Had to keep that as lit as possible. But this transition here was the first. Again, we can't do anything about the ceiling, unfortunately. Like it was just this pure white and it'll irk us till the end of the day. But
we have to put those little foam guards so people don't, because the ceiling height also changes. So we have to make sure people don't hit their head.
But this was our kind of like our first getting to actually play with controlling a room in such a way that we could control most every element. Again, like things like those lights had to be in full view, so we stuck them inside drainage pipes to look like burst open pipes. But it was fun getting to play with a controlled space for once.
I love being able to go down there and with the DMX board just really play with the lights well in advance. We get to play with the sound, tweak everything, tweak the speakers, and so it was a really fun experience for us to do it in advance, because usually all the upper level stuff, I mean, besides stuff that's like directly on the walls, but anything light wise, any fake walls, they have to come up like 2 days before the haunt. So it's like we're usually up for like, almost like 36 hours.
Yeah.
Right, just setting everything up.
Just a little bit delirious before it all ends, but so it was really cool getting to try to do that for the first time. But so yeah, you go down into the basement and then actually exit back out into the backyard, which, again, everything's a big loop. When you want out of the party, we got to pause everything and be like, all right, letting a guest out. But also making sure
back to where they came.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we have walkies we all communicate, and we can tell when someone wants to. Yeah. So this was our DIYing. This is the big finale sequence that's playing here. So lots like Aaron said, we have an upshot fogger there, lots of technologies, and luckily it all works. We had a lot of stuff talking to each other. So.
Oh yeah, that was the scariest part, because almost everything we do is just a big experiment of us going, well, let's see, maybe
this works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's really a fun challenge to have. I think we're both looking forward to possibly, that not existing as such a severe challenge in the future, like whether that's a new space, a new anything where we can really play around with that. But then we had our leper. So actually funny, opposite them too, there was a little dog that appears in the movie. It was this little like Pekingese Pomeranian. We actually had a dog in, like, if you look to your right and around the corner, which no one should have been, but we had a dog and a tiny speaker that was just playing like whimpering sounds the entire night. Not a single person understood that reference, and we got a lot of confused people going, why were there because Matt has a husky named Ghost. He's like, was Ghost hurt? Was he like trapped behind the scenes?
We love throwing Easter egg, like little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And all that 99% of people won't understand, but it's still fun to throw in.
Yep.
Even down to Patrick Hockstetter, the zombie there, Zombie Patrick, had like the actual like Dairy Tigers shirt on. Of course, it was just distressed all hell. You could not read anything on that, but it was important to us. Damn it!
Right.
Yeah.
Continuity. Heck yeah. And that's what a lot of people don't realize when you have this much production value is there's a reason for it for yourself, and then there's a reason that you present to the audience. And there's a lot of people that don't realize why some of the stuff is in there, but there's a reason. I mean, everything that people put in these things is there for a reason.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, once you get to know the people, you're like, oh, I really like that.
Yeah.
Now that makes sense why that was there. Yeah.
Like the sunflowers in the first scene. Like if you look in the movie and you squint and you miss it, there are sunflowers. The only alive thing in the entire Niebolt house are these sunflowers in the front yard. So we had sunflowers in the facade. People are going, did you guys just run out of like gross, like dead theming? Like why were there just live sunflowers?
Yeah, I mean, this was our first attempt at, usually all of our themes are original. This was our first attempt at bringing an intellectual property to life. And so, it was always really important for us to really, really be as accurate and true to the source material as possible. So we spent a lot of time and a lot of research going through and pulling really good references.
Like that Jade of the Orient sign I made based on like half a second, you can see the sign when they're outside arguing. It appears like over Ben's shoulder or something. I was like, boom, I'm just going to make what I think that looks like if it wasn't blurry as hell. But yeah, so this was our first, IP. So we really wanted to challenge ourselves to see, like, can we be as accurate as humanly possible? But
yeah, it's really cool. Where do you guys store everything?
right.
Everywhere.
Is it all on the property?
So, some of it's in a basement, but you also rent a storage unit, which is 2 minutes away. It's like a 10 by 10. So some of it's in the backyard, stuff that can be outside.
And some of these pieces have made their way back upstate to my family's farm.
Yeah.
Like the Niebolt facade, we built that entirely new this year, and that, we love it. It's very specifically built for the space. But we tried to save as much as we can. Unfortunately, too, when it comes down to it, so much of what we have to do to accommodate the space we're in is stick built on site. It will only ever fit in this one jigsaw puzzle place.
Right.
So that's a big component of it too, that we just know we can control only so much. A lot of where we tried to make the biggest investments are things like lighting,
the technology
tech,
side.
things that can be repurposed every year, no matter what shape the haunt takes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we know we're going to have unavoidable build out costs.
Like the sewer walls. We built 17 walls for the basement, but unfortunately, you're not going to. Our next goal is to open up a commercial haunt, but we're never going to have a thing that's only like
4 feet tall.
Right?
And built in, it's built in 2 sections, so it's just like it's not really salvageable, unfortunately. So,
Right.
But trying to keep as much, like we said, learning, using it as such learning opportunities, trying things. Some things succeed, some things fail. That's the way it is.
Yep. So
what's the future of Brooklyn Fright Nights? I mean, you just said it. You'd love to go pro at one point in time. Is there a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan? What do you guys plan on doing? 1-year plan?
It's
kind of during the pandemic was really when we kind of buttoned down and we were like, all right, when we're coming out of this, we really want to hit the ground running. Because actually, it's interesting. The It theme we had wanted to do as far back as 2019. Unfortunately, the beginning of 2019, bringing the mood of the room down, I got cancer. Woo! That was not fun. I'm totally great now. Not great, as great as cancer.
I know where we're going with this.
But it was we knew I'm gonna be in chemo until basically June. So we pivoted and we were like, what's a more manageable theme? And so we didn't expand into the basement that year. But we were like, all right, can we? I was still pushed because they were all so incredibly accommodating. They were like, oh yeah, like we'll take this back. And I was like, no, but like, can we go into the kitchen this year? I was fully like, just give me like a hammer. I'm ready to go at it. So that was the year we did Lockwood, and then COVID happened, and then finally we got to do it in 2021. So. That was our big thing is like, once we hit the basement, there's no physical space left
right
here. So we've definitely, we definitely also looked at, that's when we kind of formed and we were like, all right, we need a definite name for this. So that was where Dark Hollow Productions, bring it all the way back to Whiskey Hollow, the movie that we filmed together. We really wanted to pay homage to that being like the final great,
jumping point.
Yeah, jumping point. So that was Dark Hollow Productions formed from that. So we always knew that like, no matter what our next step was, it's keeping that, important. But if it wasn't Brooklyn Fright Nights anymore, because we're not in Brooklyn, you can't exactly call it that.
Right.
I think we've started looking, we're using this year as a big research year.
Yeah, we're gonna be touring a bunch of haunts. We're gonna go out west, hopefully. We're gonna do some wider outreach in the Northeast here and just do as much haunted, because usually we go to horror nights and maybe a couple local ones, but because that
happens so early in the season, like we're going like the first week that place is open, and then
every other weekend you're building.
Our team is so small. It's just us two and then like 2 others sometimes. So it's a lot to build and it's a lot to do. So we're working. And usually I take off the entire month of October. So I'm working, my full-time job turns into haunt stuff in October.
And I'm driving down from Boston every single week. Still working a 9 to 5 at an engineering job.
So we've kind of hit our limit where we're like, we can't really get any bigger. And we're spending a lot of money. And this is like tens of thousands of dollars that we spend annually on this.
Just in lumber pretty much.
So we kind of had the epiphany. We're like, I think we're probably ready to go bigger. So, we're hoping if, the stars align, we're hoping to maybe open up something in 2023.
Now, understandably scaled though too, because we understand full stop. If we come out of the gate going, we're going to build a 30-minute front to back walkthrough where you just start and you go
10,000 square feet.
Horrifying to think we would ever have that amount of hubris.
Well, and that's actually, I mean, I like hearing that, because I like that you're sitting there going, yes, we've created an amazing home haunt. We have a following. We know that this is something we can do, but we also don't want to sit there and say, well, we're going to do this. And then all of a sudden you come out and you've got half of that. And you've advertised it, you've promoted it, all that stuff. And then that is people's first impression. So if it's smaller and you build from there, and every year they go, they see something new and better, they're going to keep going and they're going to keep telling their friends. So it's just positive from the start.
It's funny that you say that, because it's this. if I were to go back and change something that I did when I had a pro haunt, it would be make it smaller.
Yeah.
Make it more intimate because it's easier to build, manage, design, and make sure that if you only have 3-4 people there, you have enough people to run the haunt. It's
exactly. Well, and luckily, a lot of those lessons that we've really learned and the experiments we've had have been geared toward pretty much exactly how we want to approach the haunt eventually, in very heavily storytelling based. In so far as guests are taking their time going through, whether that's through blockades or things that they actually have to solve. I mentioned I come from I did escape rooms and things like that too. Adding, very light escape room elements to that too, ways to stretch something that we know, and even examining how we treat our queue line, and how we have treated our queue line and the kind of guest buildup, turning essentially what, instead of, okay, we're waiting in a white box until it's our time to go through, turning that into a component of the haunt. So your haunt that's actually maybe a 10-minute actual walkthrough now turns into a 30-minute experience or an evening of entertainment versus just that. So we've definitely done a lot of, that's kind of where we're at in the planning process of making sure our structure is there in a way that we can actually support and start with realistically.
I think there's a lot of haunts that are trying to do that, because it is easy to build rooms and have scares and do the cliche stuff and do, come up with a new thing here or there, but to do the storytelling and to going back to, why am I here? Why am I outside this warehouse? What's going on here? And if you start that from the moment you get out of the car, and you're giving them something to spend that 30, 40, 50 bucks on, give them a reason to spend that money, and then of course to tell people, in the end.
Right. I mean, Aaron and I are storytellers. I mean, that's where we come from. He comes from theater. I come from film and television. So we are storytellers, and that's what's always attracted me to this industry, is the ability to create these worlds and tell these stories. And we're not just going to be a haunt that has 10 different themes that are all over the place and nothing's connected. We really want to focus in on one thing, and how do we immerse these guests as much as possible.
That's kind of where we're at in the writing process too, is figuring out something as an overarching kind of blanket to hang everything off of, that allows us to tell a lot of different stories within that, but things that always are going to come back to a central theme and essential.
They're always threaded together.
So that you aren't just going to show up and go, okay, this is the same thing every single year. Or that you're stuck within, okay, this is an asylum haunt. I know exactly what they're going to give me, and that's asylum.
Clowns.
Clowns.
It's the clown room.
It's clown asylum.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming on, and we've gone way over what we've done.
God, I'm so sorry.
No, we planned on it. It was definitely because Troy and I are like, this is good.
I warned everybody in the chat that's been going along the side here that I was like, we're going over an hour, and everybody was like, no, I am very intrigued. They're like, no problem.
I also want to say that Aaron and I are going to MHC. This is kind of our first big convention, so we definitely want it. So if anyone's going out, come and find us. We'd love to talk. We want to connect with people, and we want to meet people in this industry and just talk about what we love to do. So
because we're kind of in our own little bubble in Brooklyn. There are no other home haunts in Brooklyn. There was a couple, but there's just no maker community. There's no anything like that. So we need friends.
We want to be your friends.
How do we get a hold of you guys? How do people find you?
Well, before we do that, I did want to ask Matt, name something that we would recognize that you've done in the film industry, like something that you've produced or been in or something like that, because I know you've done a lot of that too.
So I do a lot for like investigation discovery and Oxygen Channel. I do a lot of true crime stuff, but in terms of film, recently we shot, it was before COVID, but it came out last year, was The Night House, which is a horror movie with Rebecca Hall. So you can check that out. It was out in theaters for a while. I don't know if it's on a streaming platform or whatever, but that's a horror movie that I worked on a couple of years ago. So
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also Whiskey Hollow and Demon in My View. If you ever want to see some low budget teenagers made this movie.
Yes, of course.
So yeah, we will. I'm queuing up your accolades here. People are saying, you guys are awesome. So I did already share to the chat stuff where they can find you, but I will do it on here as well. We will start with you have the Facebook page. And so you can go on there. It's at Dark Hollow Productions, and that has all of their information. Of course, you can go onto the about stuff, and you've got all their stuff there. You can go to Dark Hollow Productions 13, and that is their Instagram. So you can see videos and pictures and stuff of their old stuff, and then their upcoming when they start doing that, and then the YouTube page. I don't like that there's only 40 subscribers. I want to see that higher by the end of the night.
I think there was 38 before we started.
I'm gonna right.
Hey, no, I think there were. I think we actually have game 2.
Yeah.
So I want to see this 100,000 by in 2 hours. Okay, so people get on it.
2 hours, get on it.
Yeah, come connect with us, say hi. Like I said, we just want to meet people and make friends and connect in the industry. So
absolutely.
We
also have a small like behind the scenes series that we were doing. We're looking to add the final 2 episodes coming up, whether it's this year or into the beginning of next year. But it's kind of just going over some of the stuff we've done, like costuming, effects.
Yeah.
It's a lot of me talking in front of a green screen. So
and we're gonna have we're also gonna have a pretty in-depth, like long, like behind the scenes specifically of last year's haunt. It's where we're
kind of taking you through little bits and pieces,
scene by scene. We break it down how we designed it and stuff. So that'll be out. Who knows when? Over the next few months, you know.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Those things always take a long time, especially the editing part of it. It's me and Matt were talking yesterday about it. We've got folders of stuff we want to do, and it's just it sits there and just gets compounded on top of itself.
Yep.
It does. Yes, it does. Well, thank you guys for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Super excited to see where you guys go. And maybe we can find you in MHC.
Yeah, Ken, we'll see you at MHC. Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely find Ken. They were on an episode earlier, and they run a haunt in Vancouver, British Columbia, called On More Manor. And,
I saw some of their stuff. Yeah.
See,
we also entered the Canadian Awards too, so we were like perusing everything.
We saw your stuff, Ken.
So in awe, so much talent across the board.
I got to witness Ken's haunt firsthand, and it is definitely one of my top home haunts that I've ever seen. So it's and they're great people too. So
looking forward to it.
So all right, well, yes, thank you guys very much.
Oh, but wait before we leave, Troy.
What's
happening next week?
What's happening next week? Next week we're gonna have Ricky Dick from Castle. I swear, if that's not his real name, and y'all are trolling me.
We'll find out, won't we?
Well, we will find out next Tuesday night whether or not Ricky Dick's name is really Ricky Dick. But he runs Castle Blood in Pennsylvania, a pro haunt there. Been around for a long time. Show. So we will talk to him.
It's another theatrical show.
Yes,
I love that show.
Yes. We won't probably have as much video from that because as pro haunts go, they don't like to really share their inside stuff. But we'll get as much as we can. And
it's all about Ricky Dick.
So join us next Tuesday.
Should make a drinking game out of his name.
Or just have
next
a
week,
bleep.
Everybody that's watching, make sure
have a queued up bleep on a soundboard that you can just bleep it every single time.
It's gonna be every 5 seconds, yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for coming on. Everybody, thanks for watching. We will see you next Tuesday, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Take care, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.